Hello there.
General Kenobi.
Uh, dude, that's the wrong line. This is in the intro, remember?
All right. Welcome to the Discussion Alliance.
We cover the latest topics and news from all corners of the Star Wars universe, so grab your blue milk and keep your seals tight because we've got a lot in store for you today. Hey, hello everyone. My name is Aidan, but I also go by the alias Santonator236. I've been a longtime Star Wars fan for as long as I can remember. And I decided to create this podcast and bring my friend along for the ride. So, my dear friend, feel free to introduce yourself.
Thank you. My name is Kyle, and online I go by the name of Havoc. I have been a very long time Star Wars fan, just like my friend Aidan. We've both liked Star Wars for as long as we can remember, and when he called me up to start making this podcast, I said, heck yeah. So I'm really excited to get this first episode up and going.
Yeah, I am too. It's like, man, we haven't done something like this in a while. So, before this, we ended up doing like a episode for a podcast I did in the past. You won't be able to find it now because I unintentionally deleted everything from it. But we did an episode on the first season of The Bad Batch, and that was really cool. And he was like, "Hey, if Kyle was like, hey, if you'd like to hit me up sometime and do something like this again, just yeah, let's do it." And so
Yeah,
here
you
we
know what?
are.
Like I had a blast with that, and yeah, like you said, it was gone, but I'm really looking forward to what we can do now. Knowing that we had that experience in the past, I know we can do some good stuff with this podcast.
Yeah, and I know this is like one of many Star Wars podcasts out there, and it's probably like, oh, they're gonna review the films, oh, they're gonna do this, they're gonna do that, and it's like, yeah, every now and again we will, but pretty much what we're going to be doing for this podcast, we're going to be discussing about a lot of things, mostly like the movies, the television shows, the video games, and if possible, the comics if we are up for it.
Yeah, getting that expanded universe. I mean, for a lot of YouTubers, that's hard to get into, but for us, I think that's definitely a goal. We want to get into that fun stuff, and even, yeah, I mean there's a lot of opportunity right there. So we hope to bring a lot to the table for you guys.
Yeah, and it's just been it's interesting. It's because it's like Star Wars is this big, ever expanding franchise, and it's like there's going to, we all know, everyone knows, it's going to continue to expand out into more movies, more TV shows, more video games, and just more extended universe stuff. It's going to continue expanding in just every medium that we could know and think of.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, speaking of that, new stuff, something that we're gonna do every single episode, which we're about to do, we're gonna start off with a little news flash. And heck, Aiden, you want to take it away on what we found as the latest Star Wars news?
So, from what we found on this article, April 20th, it turns out that Lucasfilm and Volkswagen had collaborated to make a brand new car inspired by The Mandalorian, which, as of recording this, ended just yesterday. Well, the third season, I mean. The third season ended yesterday.
Yep. I mean,
And
this car looks super cool. They said it was inspired by Mando's N1 Starfighter. That sort of really shiny chrome exterior with those yellow lines. I mean,
yeah.
considering it looks really cool in my opinion.
Yeah, it's. When it comes to stuff like this, it's like I'm always one of those people who's like, wait, but why? But why would they do something like this? But
I
then
mean, I think
again,
it's cool to see Star Wars branch out into different stuff. I mean, this is just neat.
yeah, This is a little off topic and completely not Star Wars, but it kind of reminded me of like, oh, I don't know, maybe something with like the recent Super Mario movie where they released like the Mario shoes. Like they actually, Nintendo and Illumination actually collaborated with it was this one shoe company I don't remember, and they recreated Mario's shoes.
Oh, I didn't know about that. That's actually cool. Yeah, it's always fun when you see big companies like media companies take their content and put it into the real world. That's always fun to see.
Yeah. So with this, it's like, oh, okay, this is actually looks really cool. Like Kyle said, there's the chrome plating and everything, and how it's inspired by the N1 starfighter that Mando has in this recent season.
Actually, if you look at the top left corner of that photo, you can see the emblem right there. That's a
Oh,
nice little detail right there. I
oh
appreciate
yeah,
that.
oh yeah, I see that now. It's
Yeah,
yeah, that really brings out the Mandalorian charm.
definitely.
Like yeah, and let me see. This was called the ID Buzz. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, the ID Buzz cars is what they call it. This is the brand. Before before we started this episode, we were really confused with why it was called that.
Yeah, I mean it wasn't super clear, but we saw this and we were like, "This is cool. We got to share this." So that's how we wanted to open up today.
Yeah, and so yep, awesome news segments.
Yes, that's what we're gonna have every time, folks. So this is what we need.
Yeah, so I thought, or we thought, as a good first episode for this podcast we're gonna be doing, um, well, we just thought like, hey, let's talk about the Star Wars fandom right now, and like just talk about how we feel about it, what the out like just talk about the fandom in general.
I
And
mean, yeah, I mean that statement. A lot of people could say, "Oh, there's a lot to cover," but we're really trying to look at what's come out recently. What are we thinking? What do we think about the outlook, and just what we're feeling about Star Wars right now, especially since we've been fans for so long. We've seen it change over many years, and so we're just gonna try to just give a fun intro and just show our knowledge of Star Wars, at least in this aspect.
yeah, and it's like I wouldn't say I consider myself to be like a diehard Star Wars fan. Like, oh, I get all the merchandise, I collect all
Um,
the Lego sets and all
yeah.
that. But I'd feel like I'm a very avid viewer of Star Wars content.
I mean, yeah, same here. I don't have Star Wars stuff lining my room, and I'm not someone who's going to conventions all the time. I mean, I'm not going to Star Wars stuff all the time. That's not my whole life. But I will say that when it comes to Star Wars, talking about it, I'm pretty passionate about it, and so that's like why I'm doing this podcast is because it's fun to talk about. It's such a cool universe,
Yeah,
and I feel like you too. We're very knowledgeable about it from watching movies, reading books and articles. So I feel like there's a lot we can talk about.
yeah, and it's just whenever I watched and watch anything Star Wars related, it's like there's like the one little thing that I would point out, and my parents are like, "What? How
Yeah,
do
those
you
little
know that?
details.
How do you know that? What?" Or they're like, "Aiden, what's this?" And I'm like, I'll point it out, or it's like, I don't know. This is really new.
Or sometimes with your parents, you get a little too nerdy. For me, I point something out, and then next thing you know, I'm giving a full lecture on some weapon or some Star Wars species or planet. You know how it goes.
Yeah, that's me as well.
Yeah. Well, like, Aiden, how about you kick us off? What are you feeling about Star Wars right now? You feeling good, bad? What are your thoughts right now?
Well, definitely a lot better than Marvel, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, Marvel's been unfortunately a little rough today. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
not just today, the last couple of years.
yeah. Well, aside from that, it's yeah. I've been enjoying Star Wars content quite a bit recently. Like I had just finished watching season 2 of The Bad Batch and all that, and I've been seeing that people are enjoying it as well.
Yeah, but that was a pretty fun season.
Yeah, and how
But we'll save that for another day, of course. I'm sure we can make a good episode about that.
yeah. Yeah, and then it's like let's see. Yeah, as of recording this, I'm going to watch the Mandalorian season 3 finale and
Don't worry, no spoilers in this episode. We won't reveal anything.
well, maybe except for the review that I released before this episode, or I'm going to release before this episode. Maybe, I don't
But
know.
it'll all work out.
Yeah. And aside from those shows, I'm gonna need to start watching Star Wars Rebels because the Ahsoka series is coming out this summer. Wait, this
Oh, you're
summer?
right.
This summer? Yeah.
Um, I don't have it pulled up in
Let me
front of me right
see.
now, but I totally forgot. Rewatching Rebels would definitely be a good like lead up, a reminder of what's going on.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. It's the Ahsoka series comes out on not October, August. Why did I think of
Well,
October?
it's fine. It's late summer.
Yeah, it'll be the late summer when. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff is going on in terms of Star Wars and all the shows and movies that are coming in the next couple of years. Uh, well, aside from that,
Oh, yeah,
I
well, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but like, well, what are your thoughts? Because you were talking about movies. The announcement of they I forgot exactly, but they were announcing three new, like a new trilogy of Star Wars. You heard about that?
oh, I feel like I have, but
And how they're gonna bring back Ray and stuff like that.
okay. That's
I'm interested to hear what you think. I want to know what you think about that.
so I'm gonna just go and say this. This is probably a very hot take considering like all the hate that the sequel trilogy has received. I'd say that the sequel trilogy is okay. It's okay. Like I have my uh what is it? I have my critiques about each one, just the trilogy as a whole, but it's like it's okay. I'd watch it again and all that. But anyway, with the whole thing about like Ray returning in a upcoming project, like that's apparently set 15 years after the the sequel trilogy. Goodness, I'm struggling to find my words right now.
You're fine. You're fine. I sort of put you on the spot with the question. I didn't expect you to come forth with this big research paper, but I just wanted to know what you thought and if you had heard about it.
I have okay, well, yes, I have heard about it and I'm a little skeptical just because it's like, yeah, the sequel trilogy could have done better, but I think it's okay. And from what I'm currently seeing from the IGN article or what they shared out on Instagram, it's like people are not happy.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like people always say Star Wars has a lot of conflicted fans, but I feel like something that's neat about Star Wars fans is like we as Star Wars fans, like we care about the content that comes out, and people are very vocal about it, sharing their thoughts. And I feel like if I were someone at Lucasfilm, that's helpful to have so many voices coming forth and telling me if I were working at Lucasfilm, like all these ideas that people have and what they're looking for in the Star Wars universe. And so, I mean, yeah, there's like you said, there's a bit of a split between fans on this new announcement, but I feel like in some ways that can create a lot of good out of it.
Yeah, and it's yeah, and I'd have to say that this is just my opinion, but I'd have to say that The Force Awakens was the closest thing to like what people actually would think of when it came to Star Wars. Because
I agree with that actually. Like to an extent, I agree with that.
yeah, because it's like sure it follows a similar formula to like like Episode 4, where it's like our protagonist is on a desert planet hoping to do something better than what they have currently. You know, with Luke being on Tatooine and wanting to do more with his life, and Rey on Jakku trying to what was it? Trying to wait for whoever it was that left her so long ago. But we all know how that turned out.
Yeah, well, I when you look at it with hindsight, like if you put right now, if you were gonna do a Disney Plus and you looked at all the Star Wars movies and you watch the two movies back to back, you'd be like, oh, they're so similar. The Force Awakens was sort of a ripoff, or even today, like the New Hope is well, anyways, my point is on that is that if you look at the time between the two movies, The Force Awakens was more of a reboot, in my opinion, and
I
I feel like people treat it a little bit harshly because yes, they do follow similar patterns, but people have to remember that there was almost over 40 years, almost 50 years between the two movies, and so I feel like in a sense it was a nice sort of refreshed version of the of A New Hope, and it sort of just again got the ball rolling because they hadn't done a Star Wars movie for over 10 years, so.
uh,
I feel like they get a lot. They get a lot of hate on using the same formula, but I feel like people have to put that into perspective.
well, and it's also the fact that people are just very upset. Like, like when as like 2 years after Force Awakens, and we got The Last Jedi. Like, holy crap! I'm looking on Rotten Tomatoes right now. The audience score is it's a 42% for the audience, but a 95 for critics. And it's like,
Yeah, I don't know about that critic score. I mean,
it's I don't 100% agree with critics, but it's like yeah, and it's like around this time I think when the fandom was starting to get upset and all that.
I mean, yeah, I mean, a lot of it is was The Last Jedi a good movie? In my opinion, no.
Like
But
it has its
I've
moments.
it has its moments. I feel like you got to put it again into perspective. And when we look at stuff, is I don't know, I just not necessarily annoying, but it's sort of saddening to see people get really mad at Star Wars. Like, no, like I'm not saying you shouldn't critic movie creators and content creators. You shouldn't. I'm not saying that you shouldn't point out the things that are wrong, but again, putting into perspective, The Last Jedi, there was a switch halfway into the development, or I believe the writing of the movie.
Yeah, they
They switched directors.
J.J.
And
Abrams to Rian Johnson.
yeah, the whole storyline was switched, and whether they meant it or not, I mean, I feel like something you got to take into account when you critic a movie, when you look at it, is not just the outcome. Yes, the outcome's important, but also look at the production and their timeline and what they went through, because that creates some understanding.
Yeah, and it's yeah, and sure it's been difficult in recent years. Not like this year 2023 or like
Yeah.
like 2019 to now has got to be like some of the best times for releasing Star Wars content, and I've been hearing a lot
Wait,
of
remind me, when did the most recent movies, the last is The Rise of Skywalker. When did that come out again? Was that
that
2019?
was 2019. Okay, maybe except Rise of
No
Skywalker.
way. Was
Maybe
it
except
already
Rise
that
of
long
Skywalker.
ago?
Yeah, it was that
Oh
long
my
ago. 4 years
gosh.
at this point.
Oh my goodness, it's been 4 years.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
well, I can. Well, while I'm at it, I looked it up. Here's Rotten Tomatoes. Let's see what we get.
what do we got for Rotten
We get
Tomatoes
a
here, man?
wow. Okay, a critic score of 52%,
Oh, wow.
but an audience score of 86%. I don't know how
What?
I feel about that.
Okay,
Like,
I feel like The Rise of Skywalker is like it that was another one that I saw that like ticked off a lot of people too.
I mean, again, out of the three, I feel like it's pretty well agreed on that The Last Jedi. Unfortunately for that movie, it's like ranked number three out of that trilogy. Would you think the same?
Uh
Or are you thinking The Rise of Skywalker at the bottom?
I okay, if I were to put it in a tier list, I would put I'd put Force Awakens at the top. I'd put
Yep, definitely.
I'd put Rise of Skywalker in the second, and then Last Jedi at the third. Okay, I'm just saying
Yeah.
what people are saying. I would,
Yeah, now I think about it, we're like, oh, we're gonna talk about the Star Wars fandom.
yeah.
I
Now we're good,
apologize. I'm taking this off onto something else.
but it's like, yeah, the sequel trilogy's okay. It has its flaws, but yeah, it's okay. I'm not saying like, oh my god, it's the best thing, but it's like, yeah, it's okay. I can see where people are not exactly thrilled about it. Well, oh god, I.
What?
So another thing I just realized, I found out that season 1 of The Mandalorian came out in 2019.
Wait. Hold on. I gotta look this up. I'm forgetting already.
Yeah, no, the series premiere was November 12th, 2019 onto Disney
Oh,
Plus.
and then The Rise of Skywalker was in December. It was like Christmas
Yeah.
time. I remember that.
Holy crap. Like I didn't even know that The Mandalorian was a thing at the time.
Hold up. And then The Mandalorian, just before that, the Clone Wars season 7 came out, right?
Oh shoot.
During the summer, right? I'm looking this up.
Yeah,
I'm
I got to
totally
look this
forgetting.
up too.
Oh
Cuz
my. Oh no. It was 2020. It was summer of 2020. So it was
yeah, I was going
after.
to
It
say
was
like
after. Yeah.
wasn't it
Yeah.
2020?
I was reversing. Yeah.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'd have to say that.
Oh, and they ended. It says.
Yep.
Hold up. I think it ended on. It says here final episode date May 4th. Oh
Really?
yeah, for May the 4th be with you. That makes sense.
Oh. Oh yeah, May 4th, 2020 was the series finale. Yeah. Well, anyway, back on the
Yeah.
it's
We're,
like
we're, we're going
2019
on.
2019 was like the start of like good content.
I mean, yeah, it was definitely a turnaround with Disney, with the introduction of Disney Plus. That has really, I feel like, shaped Star Wars to where it is now, and
Yeah.
potentially, I believe it has had quite effect on the film industry. I mean, we've seen the pop up of like Apple TV, Peacock. I mean, there's a
Yeah,
bunch of
the
new streaming services that I feel like Disney Plus definitely had an influence in
yeah, and it
creating. And
was
in a sense, they cause these companies to be like, oh, we gotta step up our game now.
yeah, and it was also like a time of crisis. We were in the middle of a pandemic, and so it was like
Yeah,
without movie
people are at home.
theaters, how were people going to watch the latest and greatest stuff?
Yeah, I actually almost completely looked that over. I just with the timing, different time was that was a different time.
Yeah, that was a much different time. Everyone would remember that time. But we
That's for
choose to
sure.
forget it because it was very, very, very stressful for everyone.
But you know what we did? We watched Star Wars.
Because why the hell not? Yeah, and then and they released a lot of good stuff throughout these past 4 years. Mandalorian, season 7 of Clone Wars, and
The Bad Batch has been pretty successful, I would
Oh
say.
yeah, that's a good show. I've been enjoying it.
Yeah.
Let's see,
I mean,
Andor. There's Andor.
Andor was, in my opinion, amazing. It was, in my opinion, taking almost like theater quality production to a TV show. Part of
Yeah.
what helped is that those episodes were like 40, 50 minutes long, too.
Yeah, and it was like just yeah, I haven't finished watching it, but from what I've seen so far, I think I'm like episode 9 or 10. I mean that far in.
I think there's 12 total.
Oh,
I'm going to check right now.
maybe I'm a little
Or maybe it's
farther
10.
back
I
than
don't know.
that. I don't know. But
I'm
yeah,
looking right now. There is a total of 1, 2, 3, 4. Or maybe it's 12. It is 12.
okay.
It's
Yeah, I'm a little farther than I'm
oh
a little
yeah.
farther back
I
than
feel
that,
like
so
Andor definitely was like it was a big punch, I think, for Star Wars fans, considering that it was that whole, in my opinion, bringing like theater quality stuff to a streaming platform in a TV show format.
yeah.
Also, just a lot of people were saying like this is such a dark TV show. That was at
Mhm.
least a description that I was hearing a lot, and
Right.
I feel like it wasn't necessarily dark. It was just taking on and a more it was targeting more of an adult audience. I think, obviously, in my opinion, a kid could watch this show. They could,
Yeah.
but it definitely is targeted more towards
Like
teens, young
like
adults, and
yeah, young adults.
more of the older
So
ages,
yeah,
especially with the themes it brings and
yeah, there's
just the content.
yeah, and I've yeah, that yeah, that makes sense. It's yeah, that's what I've been getting from the getting the feeling. That's the feeling I've been getting
Have
from
you
this.
did you see this stuff with Andy Serkis yet
Oh
in
no,
Andor?
I know he's in Andor, but I haven't
I
seen like
think that was a huge cherry on top of the sundae for people. Me and myself. I mean, I feel like Andy Serkis is probably most well known for his performance of Gollum in Lord of the Rings,
yeah.
and
There,
he's known for other stuff, of course, but he is such an interesting actor, and because he's so selective with his roles, I think he'll forever be a stand-up actor. And his role within Andor's TV show, his character
mm-hmm.
is going to be cemented in Star Wars lore forever. I believe that. I mean, obviously you have to watch the show, but just the clips that are based off him, and people will say, "Hey, he was in Star Wars." Like out of all the cameos, you could say he is probably one of the coolest ones
Yeah,
ever, in
that's
my opinion. I'm really excited for you to see that episode.
yeah,
It's
that's gonna be
well worth your time.
yeah. Yeah, I have a good feeling that it will be a good sense of my time. Oh, I just hit my coffee mug.
Oh, we're sort of jumping all over the place, but it's fine. This is the show that, heck, we're willing to talk about a lot. Something that I liked a lot. I mean, The Mandalorian is pretty good at hiding it in the most recent season. I feel like I could see it now and then, but obviously they use a ton of the 360 live screens around their actors, which is cool because the actors get to see their environment technically,
Yeah.
and they get to have this really cool lighting and create these really cool scenes. However, something that's nice about Andor is they build. There's a ton of these posts that I've seen and behind the scenes videos that Star Wars posted
Mm-hmm.
of the size of the sets that they build. Like they built so much stuff, which you can really tell once you start to when you're watching the show.
Right.
You can tell the actors can actually interact with this door. They actually are walking on gravel. They're in the scene, and it doesn't feel like anything is just thrown on top. It doesn't feel cheap. Which again, I mean, with green screens and everything, that has really improved. But I feel like you can still see it. You can see the difference, and that's something I really enjoyed about Andor. It's just the amount of authenticity that they put into the visuals. Like you feel like you were there on the planet with Andor in the scene that he's in. I don't know,
Yeah, and
but
let's not forget that these were Andor was made by the same people who made Rogue One, which is by far another good movie.
that we didn't mention that. That I feel like that's unfortunately a movie that like people know about, but that gets caught up in. I know we were talking about it earlier, but in the whole hate on the sequels thing, because
Or
in
like
between the
just
Last Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker, you had Rogue One, which is
by
an
far one of the best Star
amazing
Wars
movie.
movies. One of the
In
best
my
Star Wars movies
opinion,
since Disney's acquisition.
it is. If I were to divide it up into pre-Disney and post-Disney, yes, Rogue One definitely top of post-Disney.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, post acquisition. For me, it could almost be top pre-Disney too, in my opinion. It just it's such a unique
Mm-hmm.
movie. I mean, it's in my opinion one of the best. I'm gonna make a quick tier list. It's contenders against, in my opinion, Revenge of the Sith and probably Empire Strikes Back.
Ooh.
It's there. I mean for a lot of people's from conversations I've had with other fans and friends, Acts
Right.
1 and 2, yes, are a little bit slow, but there's a ton of character building and world building. I mean, everything in that movie is fresh and new, practically. Yes, there's stormtroopers, but they build everything brand new around that. Act
Mm-hmm.
3 with the Battle of Scarif,
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, that is something. I can go onto YouTube right now and I can find a 6-minute clip rewatching all of the starfighters in the Alliance fleet hyperspace in and begin that scene. I will watch that over all the time. And the music was just fantastic.
Oh yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. For anyone
If you
who
want to
hasn't
add,
seen
go
it,
for it.
yeah, yeah, it's unlike a lot of the other Star Wars films that I had seen following Disney's acquisition. It's like at first I didn't like it actually. Like when I first saw it, but then after watching it
Huh.
a few more times it was like, "Oh, okay, I like this. This feels like an actual Star Wars film." And
Yeah, with like all of the movies, there's stuff I feel like you could critique. Like I'm gonna point it out. You remember the monster that Saw Gerrera had that he used to like sort of try to pull Bodhi's memory or whatever.
yeah, I
That weird
remember
creature.
that.
I don't think anyone has an explanation why that's in the movie or what it actually did,
Okay.
but
It's
it's
probably in a
but
in a
but
book
I feel like
somewhere.
it's a good thing that like that is one of the only things I can nitpick out of that movie and be like, oh yeah, that's weird. But out of everything, like I feel like
Yeah.
that says that there's a lot of good in that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I really don't have anything else I could add to that. Like you were very spot on that.
So you caught me with Rogue One, which I'm super passionate about. So I'm sure once we get to one of the other movies that you're a bigger fan of, you will pop off, and I will sit by, and I will prepare myself for the presentation.
Yeah, well, oh goodness. I would have to think. I'm trying to think because there's a lot of things that. Okay, you want to know one of the shows that I am struggling to like actually start?
Oh boy, hit me. Let's go.
Star Wars Visions.
Ooh, okay. Did you like the first episode?
Oh God, yes, I did.
Yes. Oh, so that's a trend I'm seeing. It's with me and friends. First episode is amazing. Like that is so cool. And then after that, I'm not no discredit to the people who made those episodes, but they take on different themes and tones that I don't think me and probably other fans were prepared for. It's a different it's a different way of presenting the
Yeah,
Star Wars story.
yeah, and well, the good thing is that none of those stories are canon, so when
Good
it's not
thing
going
they don't count.
to. But still, yeah, yeah, it was the same thing for me. I watched the first episode and then it was like I never got around to watching the other episodes after. It
No,
was
yeah,
just like,
I think again, I did watch all the episodes. They are cool. It's just I don't think it's what I look for in Star Wars. Obviously, Star Wars I look for, as George Lucas has coined it, a space drama with your fighter, with your space battles and your lightsaber fights
and
and your
good
heartbreak
characters.
and your good characters. And Visions is unique in its approach to it puts a completely different spin on it, which for
Hmm.
me, I mean, if I were to rewatch it over, maybe I'd get into it more, but it's not necessarily my thing with Star Wars, which is, in my opinion, totally fine with the fact that I know that there's other people. I bet you there's tons of people who really enjoyed it, and great. That is some awesome Star Wars content that they can enjoy. So
Yeah,
props to them.
as well as especially if for those who are very invested with like, I know it's for volume 1 as what that's what they're calling it, considering the volume 2 has been announced a couple weeks ago.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
as of recording this. And so it's like it was mostly like an anime style kind of like series, but from what I'm seeing for volume 2, it's like it's branching out and doing more like stylized animations.
Yeah, I noticed that. Um, I would hope you know. You know this Spider-Man of the Spider-Verse, Miles Morales movie.
Yeah, I do.
I I saw a couple clips from the announcement trailer, and it reminds me a little bit of that comic booky sort of art style. Some of the stuff, which I thought was super unique.
Yep.
And into the Spider-Verse, they used ton of cool visuals with like well, one thing I'm picturing in particular is like
Mm-hmm.
the big portal, whatever, when it blows up, like the shock waves and stuff. The way that they animated that, very comic booky,
Yeah, yeah.
and I I think one of the episodes that they were showcasing for Visions has that sort of look, and so I think that's a really neat approach. Also, I think they said that they're gonna do like some stop motion stuff too. I don't know
Oh
if it was like
yeah.
claymation.
Yeah, I heard that for volume 2 of Visions that Aardman was going to be one of the studios that made a short.
No, yeah, that is super cool. I mean, especially when now you aren't just changing up like the story and the approach, but now you're branching it out to completely different techniques, which
Yeah,
I'm excited for.
I am also very excited for that too. It's, yeah, I would have to say that at first, in terms of the Star Wars fandom, I would say that following Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilm, I feel like at first it was like very difficult to like just have like the right like what like Star Wars just like I feel like at first Disney was like, wait, how do we do Star Wars or
I
something
mean,
like
yeah,
that.
there's something new that they got, and I mean, I guess I'm trying to be a little bit nice with them as I say this, but like they were trying something completely new. I mean, Disney's known for their animated movies, they some live action stuff,
Yeah.
but jumping from all these family stories to the space drama, I mean, it's in their credit, that is a jump.
Yeah.
That is a big jump.
I would I agree with that. And it's like, yeah, at first, just at first it was like, yeah, this isn't what we're looking for, Disney, do better. But in like recent years, like the last 4 years, it's been doing better. It's
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I think as a message like for Star Wars fans, I mean, you and I, and we were discussing it earlier about the reviews of the sequels and stuff, and I feel like that's something with
yeah,
the sequels and the controversy. That's something that will always be discussed in
it will
Star Wars
always,
culture. But
of course.
something that that's sort of sad to see is I have many friends in person and online that I talk to about the sequels, and they they stick with the whole Star Wars has been ruined thing with that, which I feel like is a mindset that as Star Wars fans we gotta be careful that we don't trap ourselves into, because I see a lot of, and this can apply to anything, but I see a lot of friends who have been watching the new Bad Batch show, uh, and all the new live action shows from The Mandalorian to
Yeah.
Andor, and they have a hard time enjoying it. And they they really nitpick it, and I understand with the
Yeah.
TV shows, especially since it's been a new form of Star Wars content for Lucasfilm and Disney, that yes, it has its sort of cruddy moments. I can think of a few, but compared to all of the really cool and good stuff that they make, I feel like it's unfortunate that some people are just dialed into the critiques, and I think that's something that I feel like us as a whole fan group has been doing better of, is just opening up and looking at like, oh, this stuff's actually cool.
Yeah.
And yes, we can look at some of the bad stuff, but like let's be here in the now and not just hold on to the mistakes that were in the past.
Yeah, exactly. There was actually I was, after watching The Bad Batch, I was going to just watch some reviews on it, and there was this one guy who was just hated it. Just hated season 2 of Bad Batch, and I'm just like, oh boy. It's probably
Yeah,
going to take this way out of proportion some way or
yeah,
another. And it's like, yeah, this couldn't sit through it.
yeah, but there's definitely a lot of channels that I've seen, not just Star Wars, but I'm gonna dial in on the Star Wars ones that unfortunately focus on, they build their channels around the negatives of Star Wars content. Like, oh, here's another bad thing, and they get a lot of views on it. But what I find,
Yeah.
I watched some of that stuff for, I remember for like a handful of weeks. I watched a dozen channels who post us on that type of content, because at first, yeah, it's sort of entertaining and they make it goofy, but then after you watch a number of videos, you realize that it's all just like opposite of anger management stuff. It just gets your blood boiling,
Yeah.
and you really realize that like I gotta open up my eyes and realize that like this person isn't saying anything good. Like, what is their goal here? Like, are they just trying to make content and just get people's views, or are they actually gonna start saying stuff that is real? And I feel like that's something that we don't want to let ourselves get caught up into.
Right. Because it's like, just the hardcore Star Wars fans want certain things to go like the way that the original trilogy did, or like just something like that. And it's like, dude, that, people, we can't do that. We can't all
Yep, I mean
we can't
that
always
was
have it
years
be
ago.
like, we can't have it be like what it was 40 years ago, 40 plus years ago.
Definitely, yeah,
And it's like, we got to, whether it's good or bad change, we got to embrace it.
exactly, yeah. Well, I'm running out of ideas now.
I've run out of things to talk about as well.
Should we call it a day? I think we've done pretty good.
Yeah,
I
we
think
did
we've done
pretty
pretty good.
good. Yeah, this was
That,
pretty
that was a
good.
bit of a workout. That was
Yeah.
a bit of a workout. Don't worry, folks. This again, it's just an opener. We will make sure to be a bit more organized for our future episodes. Don't worry.
Yep. And any and all films that we've talked about, any and all films, TV shows, and all that we've talked about in this episode will go into further depth in later ones. So don't worry, you're not missing out.
We've got a lot more coming.
Yeah, so thank you all so much for tuning in. This is a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, but I'm really excited for where this is going. I'm gonna end off by saying, "May the force be with you," to you, Aiden, and of course to our viewers. And I'm excited to get going on our next episode and bring it to you guys in the next 2 weeks.
Yep. So, yes, thank you all so much, and may the force be with you.